We're going to go ahead and get started with this morning's session. My name is Kevin Buck. I'm the community manager here at Innovate Newport. Thank you all for being here for our Blue and New Summer Speaker Series. This is the third year in a row we've done this. This is the third session, Thursday morning at 8:30, close to 8:30. And all take place here at Innovate Newport. So you're welcome to come to any and all of them. They're free of charge. Each session will include a presentation, a Q&A, and some networking opportunities. So they're free, open to the public. People can register through Eventbrite. Or if you suddenly have a touring schedule and you can make it, feel free to come on in. What the core of this program is inclusion and accessibility to information and opportunities related to the burgeoning blue economy in Rhode Island. Sponsorship ensures that all people can attend these informative sessions without having to pay a ticket fee. So we're very grateful to our sponsors, which include Regent. Regent builds sea gliders, the first form of zero-emission, high-speed coastal transportation. Enduro Industries. Enduro is a defense technology company with a mission to transform U.S. and allied military capabilities with advanced technology. And Newport Craft Brewing and Distilling Company, who has been brewing craft beer since 1999 and distilling craft spirits since 2006. They're wrapping up, if you're not local, they're just wrapping up a huge renovation and nutrition project on Arlington Highway. So today's topic is ocean food systems. Rhode Island seafood industry has been at the center of the state's blue economy, providing food and jobs to many. With global warming and other complex challenges facing the industry, the sector must pivot and innovate, and today we're going to see how some of the experts are preparing for the challenges ahead that they have to face. So we have fortunate enough to have three panelists with us today. Ryan Clark, who is the president and CEO of Town Dock. He's the chief executive officer and president of Town Dock, a market leader in food service and retail calamari. Ryan joined the family-owned company as a teenager, unloading boats and tackling fish during his school vacations. He worked his way up, becoming a manager, vice president, ultimately succeeding his father as a CEO in 2016. Town Dock has enjoyed continued growth under his leadership, and he brings a wealth of knowledge about the opportunities and challenges that the seafood industry faces today. Ryan holds a BA in operations management from Boston College. Peter Potter, who is the director of Green Fins LLC. Peter is a serial entrepreneur, having launched businesses in the media, technology, and research industries. He's director and co-founder of Green Fins, which is a public-private partnership with the University of Rhode Island focused on sustainable marine finfish aquaculture research. He was also the founder and CEO of VidSafe, a leading technology provider of health, safety, and security solutions. Peter previously served as the president and GM of Smith's Detections Integrated Systems Group. Prior to this, he was the founder and CEO of LiveWave, which develops sensor management solutions for homeland security and military applications. Peter graduated from the University of Rhode Island with a BS in Marine Sciences and a minor in Marine Affairs, holds 9 U.S. utility patents, and is a U.S. Coast Guard licensed merchant mariner officer, research scuba diver, and avid offshore fisherman. I'm quite sure how he finds time to be here today. Thanks for the info. Dan Costa, who is the state port manager for DEM. He's been the port manager for Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management for the past 12 years. After spending 7 years at the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management's Division of Marine Fisheries as Rhode Island's Land Coastal Cooperative Statistics Program Coordinator, Dan has developed an understanding of Rhode Island's commercial fisheries to best utilize state port infrastructure in support of our state's fisheries. This experience, coupled with a bachelor's degree in biology from URI has led to understand the importance of preserving Rhode Island's working waterfront for commercial fishing carriers through management of state ports and marine infrastructure. Amy works day to day at port management by supervising staff assist to identify and implement major marine construction and development projects, manage leases for key seafood processors and support businesses, and organize berthing of more than 300 vessels. Dana continues to prioritize the development of the financial ecosystem of the Port of Galilee and other state-owned facilities to grow the commercial fishing economy and the financial benefits this economic sector brings to our state. As a lifelong Rhode Island resident, he's supported by his wife and 2 sons who all enjoy local seafood, fishing, and the ocean. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask Dan to come up, or actually all 2 panelists come on up, and they'll do their presentations. And then we'll have a Q&A. You guys want? Just click it on.
Check about it.
Just keep it on me so
Yeah, it'll be all right.
Helps with the recording. All right, so welcome. Thank you all for being here.
I don't think anyone will have a problem hearing you, but if you do, just yell at me or something like that, not a problem at all. I'm not a sitter when I talk. I'm just going to stand up. Thank you very much for the introduction here this morning. Give you guys some informative information about what we do. So I'm the port manager, as you said, Division of Coastal Resources. The main office of the division is located in the Port of Galilee at 301 Green Island Road, just across the street from the Block Island Ferry. We have a staff of 7 in total, including a variety of seasonal employees that take on a number of different things. It's the smallest division within the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management, but I would like to think one of the more important ones. The areas of responsibility that we have include the Port of Galilee, and I think it's really worthy to mention Pier Number 9 Newport, just so you're here on the Plymouth Island now. We also have another few semi-recreational areas, Pier Number 4, Pier Number 5, and newly acquired Chase Marina facility in Tiverton, which is still under development. All of these facilities combined, are all state-owned and all support in some way, shape, or form commercial fisheries. So not everyone really realizes or understands that the entire Port of Galilee is owned by the state of Rhode Island. It was taken over by eminent domain in approximately 1946 and developed into the port of what we see now here. Over 27 land leases comprise the port, including the town dock. We have a number of different berthing facilities here comprising the port. We have some areas for larger boats, smaller boats, a lot of parking facilities. It's a very large challenge, but it's a very important one. We also have Pier Number 9 Newport, which you may be familiar with, located at 150 Walmart Avenue, just really down the street from here. We have approximately 47 vessels that are berthing here at any given time, ranging in size from approximately 80 feet to right down to about 23 feet. This is just a very typical dragger or auto-trawl boat out of Point Judith, just as an example of the size vessels in which we typically deal with. A boat like this typically is captained and crewed by approximately 3 to 4 individuals, going out at sea seasonally anywhere from 2 to approximately 7 days. A boat like the Shelby Ann, seen here, is probably going to concentrate primarily on squid, loligo squid to be specific, in the summertime, and then work on other species such as summer flounder, black sea bass, and shoulder seals. Just to give you an idea of landings, and this is not, these figures here are not reflective of statewide landings, but only state port landings, such as Galilee and Newport. Commercial fisheries are extremely lucrative in the state of Rhode Island. Economic studies through the University of Rhode Island have shown that approximately $3.5 paid to a commercial fisherman they are turned around into our local economy. They are spending money on ice, on fuel, on sundries, anything that's related to their business or their boat. So the point is that commercial fishing is a very much a large economic contributor to our state and local economy. You can see these numbers ranging over 10 years, from 2012 to 2022, are going in a very positive direction for the state of Rhode Island, something that we're very proud of. I've highlighted 2020 because, as we all know, this was COVID, and still, even though we did see a very large financial dip during the COVID pandemic, we still held a very reasonable $53 million in earnings in Galilee and Newport. Speaking of squid, which is one of our most important species, it's our state appetizer. It's also very economically important. In 2021, we had approximately $33 million landed in both Rhode Island, Galilee, and Newport of Lalago squid and helix squid. Those are two different species. Shown here, which I think this picture was actually taken at the town dock, is local fishermen unloading some Lalago here, which is eventually processed at Ryan's facility and then turned around with calamari, which I'm sure he will talk about in just a moment. I think that's the extent of my presentation, but at this moment, I'm going to hand this over to Ryan, who's going to talk about the town dock.
Hi, I'm Ryan Clark. I'm the owner of the town dock. I've been there for quite a while. My dad founded the company in 1980, and we've been in Galilee since 1985. So we've got a 40,000 square foot facility in Galilee. We also have a 20,000 square foot facility in Johnston, Rhode Island for secondary processing. And like this slide says, we're vertically integrated. So what that means is we own fishing vessels, we own the processing plant, and we're kind of endpoint to endpoint on distribution. So we own and operate 5 vessels that are based out of the port, kind of like the picture of the Shelby Hen you guys saw earlier, and they're primarily squid fishing vessels. We also buy squid up and down the eastern seaboard and from other independently owned vessels in the port. And what that means is really Rhode Island is number 1 in terms of squid landings on the East Coast. So the town dock is a big part of that. And we're unloading and handling millions of pounds of squid per year. So just for example, today, I have 3 boats in today, over 100,000 pounds of Lalago squid that we're handling today. So, and that port, so we're partnering with the DEM. So the DEM is all state-owned land and it's for fishery purposes only. So if I can't sell my building, put up waterfront condos, for example. So there's a real partnership between us and the state of Rhode Island as far as the long-term lease for us, if we understand that we're going to thrive in the fishing business, and that gives me the confidence that I can invest and reinvest into the fisheries because the DEM and the state of Rhode Island supporting us in fisheries. So that's where there's a mutually beneficial relationship where even though I'm on state land, I can invest in my boats and the plants to upgrade things and grow my business. Okay, so when we talk about endpoint to endpoint, when we're supporting not only local fishermen buying their catch, we've got our plants producing calamari. So if you're we have distribution across the country and globally. So if you're in a Whole Foods in California, you're going to find town dock squid. If you're in Dallas, Texas, and you go to Ruth Chris Steakhouse, that's town dock squid. Here in Rhode Island, you go to Capitol Grill, that's town dock squid. Go to Celestial Cafe in Exeter, to Sienna. We're in mom and pop restaurants, regional restaurant chains, national restaurant chains, and also retail. So there's primarily, when my dad started the business, it's all export. So we would bring the squid in, freeze it whole, and export that to Europe. So Spain and Italy were major markets, and we would grade it, size, and export. I would say through the late 90s, calamari really kind of, there was an upswell where it was traditionally just in Italian restaurants and Greek restaurants in the late 90s and early 2000s. And then as it became more mainstream, we were able to ride that wave and bring that supply of calamari or great tasting calamari to different restaurant concepts that wanted to add it to their menu. So we benefited, and I think the entire fishery benefited from that adoption. It's easy to prepare, it's profitable for a restaurant, and if it's great raw material or USA raw material, it's free. So those combinations, we kind of rode that wave and helped our restaurant team develop that and train them on how to serve and prepare calamari. So that's where the recipes, the videos, my sales team are always educating people what makes our USA squid different than other squid that parts around the world. And this is kind of what I already talked about. So primarily here, so there are 2 major species on the East Coast. One's called a Lalago squid, one's called a helix squid. Our boats have permits to catch both. The helix is more of a fishery in the summertime, and Lalago is more year-round. So both of those lines have different clientele, there are different price points, and they're in different markets globally. So our job on shore is to let the fishermen go fishing. We'll find the best home for that squid at the best price to return the best price to the fishermen so they can reinvest in their vessels and keep the fleet healthy. So that's my perspective for being in the industry so long is you're always looking forward to say, all right, how can we make sure that the port and the fleet are healthy so that we have a fishery 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. And that's one of the benefits of Point Judith, where some of these other ports up and down the eastern seaboard are not owned or operated by the state. So it's private-owned ports, and you see some of that where they're developing and selling, instead of a seafood dock, let's just sell out and build some condos here, or build a hotel, and you see fisheries on the decline. Some of these vessels they need a port that has the services that Galloway has, which is places that they can sell their catch, ice, a Rhode Island engine that can service their boat, fix their boat, so mechanic services, fuel services, and that's what Galloway holds, and that's why we're a thriving port.
All right, so thanks everyone for being here. As Kevin mentioned, I run a company called Greenpins, and just by way of background, I got into this because many of you know about probably aquaculture going on around the world. Traditionally, offshore aquaculture or coastal aquaculture is done in net pens, and it's about a 50 million metric tons a year produced around the world from marine fin fish as the main thing. There's some advantages and disadvantages to that. One of the advantages is it's fairly low cost. You can do high density growing of a variety of different species, and it's easy to move around. But the main disadvantage to this type of process is you've got storms, predators, potential pollution, like if there's an oil spill or some other catastrophic event. And then around here, at least if you look at Rhode Island, there's just no space to do it. There's too much water conflict. You've got commercial fishing, recreational fishing, homeowners who don't want to see that in the front yard. So you have to contend with all of those issues and create barriers to permitting and access. There is offshore opportunities as well, or potentially in places like Rhode Island, but because it will be very seasonal, it's hard to make it economically viable for someone to operate that year-round. So in the United States, there are some operations in the season Gulf of Mexico, for example, and the West Coast of California. But again, you have high costs because of the challenges, distance, storms, and predators. So sort of what's been happening over the past, say, 10 to 15 years, there's been a lot of money invested in what's called recirculating aquaculture systems, or RAS. RAS means basically land-based operation. So instead of putting your pens out in the ocean, you're basically building tanks on the shore. Ideally, those are, at least for marine fish, you still need access to seawater. So ideally, those are near coastal or near the water. You can still get access to get food on the seawater. But the nice thing about RAFTS is you can control all of the environmental parameters. And you can control all of those risks you have with offshore farming. You don't have with land-based farming. So those advantages are you can control your water temperature, control water quality, control lighting, and ultimately your feed. Because in offshore pens, one of the things that also happens is you're dumping a lot of feed in there. It's not very efficient, so a lot of that wastage sinks to the bottom and it's sort of stays in the ocean. In a land-based environment, you can really control consumption and make it more efficient, from a feed conversion ratio perspective. The other thing is you can have redundancy in your equipment. So, redundant power, redundant pumps, redundant all of those things you can use because that's really critical to operations. And then you also have zero waste. So if you design it correctly, you filter all your discharge so that you're not, basically your incoming water gets filtered and cleaned, and then filtered and cleaned again before we discharge it. So what we discharge is actually cleaner than what we use. So that does take quite a bit of technology because we're recirculating typically between 97 and 99% of that water. So if we're doing, let's say, 1,000 gallons per minute of recirculating water in one of our tank systems, we're only bringing in maybe 10, 20 gallons of incoming water constantly. The disadvantage, however, of land is a lot of CapEx up front. You need a lot of equipment, a lot of engineering, and that has a huge upfront cost. Plus, it has to be perfect. Like if one thing does go wrong, it can be catastrophic. And a lot of the early sort of movers in these states have had dramatic losses. And you've probably heard about some of the salmon operations. There's a big one down in Florida called Atlantic Sapphire, right? And Atlantic Sapphire invested hundreds of millions of dollars in this program. And they're starting to have some success now, but it's been a rough road just because of all those variables you have to keep in mind. It's like you have to get to redundancy level. So that's the key. But when you look at scaling this, what's the opportunity? Well, $102 billion worth of seafood in the U.S. is consumed every year, but we import 70 to 85% of that. And so a lot of it's coming from Asia. And so you have, some of that can be questionable in terms of quality control and in terms of sustainability practices. So the U.S. really has a real problem. You guys know it better than me with, there's huge demand for seafood, but it's not enough supply and not enough consistent year-round supply, which is why the U.S. imports so much. As I mentioned, Atlantic Sapphire, there's a few others in the U.S. that are starting to really invest heavily in land-based aquaculture in the U.S. Whole Ocean, which is also really salmon, and Nordic Aqua Farms is both in Maine, and then Kingfish Company in Maine as well. The state of Maine has been really very aggressive with investing and supporting businesses who try to do aquaculture there. And it's even more so than the state of Rhode Island, parts of this area. But there's a high demand, and I guess the point of this is that in order for land-based aquaculture to be economically feasible, you really have to focus on high-value species because the capex costs are so high. Some companies that are focused on lower-value species really have a tough time with it. So with RAS in Rhode Island, there are some great partnerships we've been able to leverage with the University of Rhode Island, for example, on the research side, through a public-private partnership. There's opportunities for grants from both federal and state grants. Sea grants, big one, NOAA, USDA, and then the Rhode Island Commerce Corp has also been really supportive of us and a lot of businesses. A couple pictures of what we do. What we do is we're focused on two main species, mahi and mahi-mahi and yellowtail kingfish, which is known as mahi. So what we'll do is we'll collect broodstock, which are sexually mature fish from the wild. We'll transport those in a live well on the boat back to the research facility. We'll put them in these land-based tanks, and then we have husbandry, breeding, hatchery, the whole process to basically grow human fish. That's about as far as we can go in our facility, just because limited space, but we've made great progress with it so far. And these are the two species I mentioned that we're focused on. And we're focused on these because they grow really fast and they're high-value species. And sustainability is a key part of this. And this is, I know, a big part of what Ryan was just saying, the town doc, that's what consumers are demanding, distributors are demanding, to have this sort of farm-to-table concept. It's so important to consumers now, is knowing where your fish is coming from, your food is coming from, and making sure you do it in a sustainable way. So that's me, and I'll turn it over, I guess, to you all, if you have any questions for all of us.
I think it's probably more specific to Ryan. I noticed that the calamari in the pictures of the Maine Stewardship Council civil.
Yeah.
I work for the Sustainable Restaurant Association.
Okay.
On the NBC.
Yep.
We have 3 restaurants right now. We're really interested in getting sustainable squid. If they've been saying that Tesco and the grocery stores provide the majority of the squid that has their global certifications. And I was wondering if there's any kind of like barriers to getting those global certifications or any like unrefined practices that these restaurants can look for that fisheries are doing, but maybe they're not certified, but they can look for specific practices.
Sure. The easiest thing to look for is the MSC certification, which both our squids are MSC certified. It's funny, we're getting more demand from the UK in the last 2 years than we have in a long time. We're actually exporting our MSC squid to the UK right now. But that's, MSC is, you have to, certificate to pay for. But we know through National Fisheries Service, any U.S. harvested species is sustainable just due to how no of the energy species. And Dan's very familiar with this, with total allowable catch, and they deduct for discards and things like that, and they're really doing surveys. So any U.S. fishery, if you're buying U.S. product, is going to be sustainable and not overfished just due to the regulation. However, MSC is like a belt and suspenders on that, so that's very important for our EU customers. In the U.S., our challenge is selling to a restaurant, they're going to advertise calamari. They may not say it's MSC. They may not even say it's American squid. They may say it's Rhode Island style calamari. That could be from wherever. That's a challenge that we're having domestically. With Whole Foods, it's on the packaging. It's going right to the end user. They can see that. Our challenge at the restaurant level, the chain may appreciate that. And they may contract with us because they want MSC certified sustainable calamari. But getting that message to the end user and drive demand, that's our challenge.
Question? Curiosity?
Yeah, we hope this is like an open dialogue, so feel free to just ask questions or just, yeah.
Okay. For our students taking through 12, what types of skills, if they want to go into fishing, not just on adults, but this whole, the importance of fishing, not just here in Newport, but also in Bethel and so forth. What types of skills would our students need? Whether to own a business or to...
I'll answer that question in a roundabout way. I find, in my personal opinion, I think commercial fisheries, working in commercial fishing industry, is one of the untapped resources that really benefit from a lot more participation, especially in our average license holder in the state of Rhode Island is over 50 years old. This is a concern to the DEM. We have programs that in public-private partnership between URI and the Department of Labor and Training, we actually have an apprenticeship program set up in different cohorts every year to provide training for young adults or any really age to get into the industry and actually promise job placement. To answer your question specifically, it's relatively little. I mean, I think more of the social commitments are probably a lot more challenging than the physical ones. It's a lot of time spent at sea. It's a lot of physically demanding stuff as well. But, the matter is, the job is not land. Typically, these jobs are on the boat. So, special individual, it's not made for everyone, they have to dedicate themselves into that. But I can say very confidently that commercial fishing is one of the only industries that I've seen where the young adult or, someone that wants to make a go of it can probably make over $100,000 a year out of high school. And you can't really say that for a lot of land-based industries. I would be shocked if someone that's socially responsible and wanted to, make a go of it wouldn't be able to find a job, whether it's stringing bait, working on, one of Ryan's boats. So, for example, on the bottom, learning, different skills. To answer your question, those skills have to be kind of learned on hand. How to manage a net, how to, splice a rope. you know, reasonably not getting sick at sea, those types of things.
Those types of
You know what I mean?
And what about the land-based fisheries that you have?
Yeah.
Is there anything different?
Well, I think a lot of the same stuff that Dan said here is applicable to the land-based side, because there's a wide range of skills required. Whether it's, even though it's on land, it's similar skills, to be able to do maintenance, to be able to do fish husbandry, processing, everything else. So all those same skills that you would have, your design, are used to. Those skills are same.
How do you,
Yeah.
fix things and
Exactly.
so forth?
A lot of it's because it's really equipment heavy. There's things like plumbing, electrical, and all these kind of skills that are required to run those systems. But you also have, the science-based stuff. So there's really two different skill sets. There's sort of the labor side of it, the physical labor side of it, and there's also the science piece, because you also need scientists who can understand how to manage the water quality, and all those other barbel hatcheries. There's a wide range of skills. University of Rhode Island and other institutions in this region have really great programs. And CCRI even has great programs for people to go into, whether it's in those trades themselves or specifically on the science side.
Yeah, I would say, like Dan said, we partnered with the state on the apprentice program for boats, and we hired some crew members out of that. Plant side is more of, like you said, like we have a whole floor maintenance team, finance team, processing teams, marketing, sales, all those different aspects of running the business. So there's opportunity for people to get into that. Dan got into the business as a contractor, and then was hired by I kind of came up through the business and understood it. I've got 3 kids. My 2 high school daughters are working in the business for the summer. They're calling fish on the dock and working with fishermen. So there's opportunities, but it is a little bit different industry where it's got to deal with smell and conditions. It's not an office environment that, it's not like working here. It's here and you're in the thick of it. But there is appealing to a lot of people. Yeah.
To answer your question very directly, I think you don't need one thing. You have to love the ocean. If you love seafood and you love the ocean, you can find a niche somewhere in the commercial. But you really get tested the ocean.
We've done high school
You have to
tours.
go,
We've done tours through the plant, so with Fairhoe or different high schools, they get, kind of get awareness for these different.
well, that's when you are opposed to you.
Yep.
One of the things that I'll kind of echo with what Dan was just saying is that the lead principal investigator for the region is a gentleman, Terry Bradley, professor at URI, and he grew up working on commercial fishing boats. Like that's how he got paid his way through college and grad school and everything else. And he only brings people on the program. Like we have a bunch of students working on the program, but only people who love fishing. Because he's like, if you don't have that passion, it's probably not going to work out. And that's really key. And I think, that's even these young students who may not get paid a lot right now, it's because they really are passionate about it and they want to learn. They want to get their, they don't mind getting their hands on it. But it's got to be a lot. So,
For all 3 of you, how has your industry changed over time? And where do you expect to see it? What changes will come?
So, I work in the state of Rhode Island. Things change in different states. So, we don't have the, let's say, nimble opportunities that the town of opportunities might have to change rapidly. But we do try to constantly change things. I have seen specifically in the state of Rhode Island that our commercial fishing industry is growing by leaps and bounds. So I had shown some figures there that show the numbers going in the right direction. We are seeing a couple of different things. One, consolidation, as Ryan had indicated, in other states and other ports, we're seeing waterfront properties being gentrified to other non-commercial related uses. This is why the state of Rhode Island owns the properties that I have, kind of shown on the screen, why we're very passionate about preserving them. So we're seeing changes in kind of a positive way where we're taking on boats. So if we have a collaborative longline fleet now in 23, and sort of routine coming in very readily now. We have 4 projects. We're seeing market changes like Helix, squid being processed for consumption. We're seeing a lot of boats from southern states, New Jersey, and southern of that, calling on Rhode Island to land because of their support businesses like the town dock and things that Ryan had mentioned, future Rhode Island. So as far as change is concerned, we're seeing it very rapidly in response to climate change as far as the species being landed here, and what I would consider a growth in land use and our general fleet reflected by the numbers for all of those factors. It's something that we have to readily adapt to. We're really concentrating rapidly now on growth. The state is investing $46 million in the Portage Valley currently. We have about $18 million currently under contracts. We're working into very innovative approaches to raise our bulkheads and docks to a reasonable level, protect them against sea level rise and storm events over the next 50 years. That's an engineering feat in and of itself. And a lot of math involved in there in between. So we're changing and adapting very nimbly to the fleet's needs and to Ryan's company's needs, for example, to kind of just work in tandem with them to really provide infrastructure in a safe, supporting way that we can preserve our commercial fishing heritage and culture in Rhode Island, and then therefore really grow our economy.
For me, I think two major things over the past recent times would be food safety and traceability. So, consumers are more interested now, more than ever, as far as where the food comes from, where the seafood comes from. So our traceability programs back to the vessel and food safety programs have really, we're trying to keep at the time, keep with the customer demand, and at the end of the day, there's a marketability factor versus a squid from China or from India where there's really trust we can show kind of the throughput where you hear about foreign fleets or IUU fishing or whatnot. If you're buying an American product, that's going to be fully traceable back to the vessel. And those customers or restaurant chains or international customers that appreciate that are willing to pay for that. And that translates back through our company to the fleet to keep a healthy fishery and keep these fishermen going. Good time.
Yeah, and I would also say too, for Ryan, other seafood companies here in the U.S., there's also shorter time to market in terms of distance, which helps with sustainability because one of the biggest costs to your seafood when you buy it in a restaurant or a retail place is the cost for distribution. So, you're cutting that down significantly by serving local markets and national markets versus, importing seafood. From Greenfin's perspective, I'd say the technology innovation is part of what we do because even though it's the seafood industry, we're heavily reliant on leveraging technology advances to make more efficient, more cost efficient, and make more scalable. And then, but we do have, permitting challenges. I think that anyone operating in the U.S. is going to have. It's a little less stringent or more complicated than doing near shore or offshore, but we still have, access to land, access to clean seawater. Those are the main factors for sure. So, in order for this to scale in this country, there has to be, efficient ways to do that. I don't think a lot of companies sort that out yet. Quick example is what's happening in Maine with the salmon operation. Those have been in the permitting process for years and years. And, there's a lot of pushback from the public, rightfully so. They're concerned about pollution. They're concerned about, what kind of jobs and living for being. So you have to kind of balance the economic development with the environmental, potential concerns.
When we
the statistics and economics compare to traditional commercial fishing in terms of how much of the fish product is produced compared to traditional commercial fishing? Like how many boats would that translate to keep the same volume? And obviously there's a huge upfront cost to build everything, but once you're on your way for a few years, how does that compare to cost basis?
That's a good question. I don't know the true economics on that. I'd probably defer to Terry Bradley, who I mentioned earlier. He probably mentioned that better than me. But just in general, the advantages of aquaculture is just having that consistent year-round supply. Because a lot of buyers want that. They want to know that the next number of tons or pounds a month or a year. And being able to have that consistent quality and consistent supply for the key. I know you mentioned challenges that Ryan mentioned earlier. But, as far as the cost difference, it's hard for me to say. I think the other challenge in commercial fishing species is just regulations too. Like, a lot of these fishermen are getting squeezed on quotas, and so it's put a lot of good, hardworking people out of business because they can't sustainably, run these boats. And fuel costs, especially last year, were, really hit a lot of fishermen. Their expenses went up considerably. So those are variables that are going to be challenging. So I think there has to be a balance between sort of aquaculture and commercial fishing. I think they two play nicely together, for sure, because a lot of those same vessels and the same skills can be applied to the industry. I don't think that's going to do that way.
And the demand for seafood is going to far exceed, already probably has exceeded the wild caught, the ability to wild caught global industry supply. So land-based or at sea aquaculture, the customer base is there. And the concept is a sound concept. All of the between running a facility, it's kind of like, I look at it like running a water treatment facility. Or all of those, it's all like your slides, 24/7, things go wrong. You have, offshore, you have fish that could escape into the wild. That's a disaster. And itself, land-based, all the same things that run a factory that you have to be on it not every day, like almost like every hour. One mistake you lose, it's been 100,000 pounds of fish, the reservation that's not too short of a disaster. I think that's some of these higher scale land-based farms that are dealing with.
I wonder how the quality of the actual meat, because it's the same species, but it's being raised in a completely different type of environment. It's not running around with all the other fish that are tank. I wonder if that changes the quality of the product.
It can. I mean, the market's largely dictated by the feed, because, the salmon industry is an example. It's an interesting fact that I learned from Barry is that the salmon here in the U.S. that's sold is blend of feed is mainly poultry-based feed, versus what's in Europe and in Asia, it's more of a fish meal or fish oils. And so if they like their fish, it tastes fishy, and U.S. consumers like their fish, it tastes like chicken. And so, it depends on what you feed it, basically, and you can have a balance of whether it's fish oil, poultry-based, soy-based, or other plant-based products that can give you, sort of the right balance depending on your marketing need.
That was some of the science can do.
Exactly.
How has the wind turbines affected fishing for this part of the East Coast?
Yes, we have a full-time regulatory person on staff, and she handles getting the wind and regulatory issues for us at the council level, national fisheries, and also working with the state. So we're part of a regional or group called RODA, and that's the Responsible Offshore Development Association. So they represent the fishing side. So that's probably a better question for them. We're trying to navigate that and coexist. There's some rubs, on what they're trying to do and what we're trying to do. We're just trying to navigate that.
think, to answer to your question, so yes, currently, there are only 5 wind turbines, one that's big project is right now. As you all know, the permits already approved for many, 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 many more. Not just in local renowned waters, but, everywhere down the East Coast. We may know the answer to that question better in 30 years, and it's all those things information. I can tell you that there are challenges with space issues. We at the state of Rhode Island have designated the Ford Gallery as a commercial fishing port, strictly commercial fishing port. We do not entertain wind farm or other related vessels. It's very important to us to maintain our state's commercial fishing heritage. The state of Rhode Island has designated the province for the sponsor to support facilities for those particular use and activities. So it's been a challenge from the land side perspective, from my perspective, to be very frank with you, but I think that we will see that once everything is implemented, I truly sympathize with the fishermen because I think a lot of them are frankly very scared, especially younger ones that are getting into the industry, that are making very, very large investments in vessels and permits. They need to understand that 20 years from now, when they're older, they're still going to have fishery credit. That's
Right.
Nautical space and so one nautical mile space between turbines. So it's good to see unknowns on how fish are going to react, where the farm is going to go, and at the end of the day, the fishery industry can kind of come together and unify, but the amount of money and effort surrounding the wind farm is daunting. Probably hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in that. So it's challenging to not get steam. So I would really just, you're not planning on it's not even space.
Ocean One, how's that affected Rhode Island, Rhode Island waters and possibly the affected?
I would defer to some of my, more scientific-based colleagues that are in fisheries to answer that question specifically, but in my personal opinion, I think that Rhode Island has seen a benefit from ocean changing warming. The only challenge with that is management tends to lag quite a bit behind on the regulatory side. So fisheries in general is extremely top-heavy with management. There's a lot of rules and a lot of regulations. So species like black sea bass, summer flounder, for example, starting 7 or 8 years ago, we were at a very, very small black sea bass boat in the state of Rhode Island, possession limits at 50 pounds, but it's extremely common for a small inshore dragger to stick their net in the water and show up 1,000 pounds in 20 minutes. Unfortunately, 950 pounds of those will be discarded because regulatory parameters didn't dictate that they can land. But we are seeing the biomass of fish more in the northern waters here, just off of southern New England, especially the lake species that I just mentioned. Can't speak for squid necessarily, but I think ocean warming, in my personal opinion, is really almost a benefit to go down temporarily. Now, there is a downside. Lobster industry, you're seeing the opposite. So our lobster and donor pack fisheries are kind of on the decline because those are more cold water species. We're going to prefer that Canadian or Maine type ocean climate. So those species are seeing some negative impacts, but other species are seeing some very positive.
Just echoing what you're saying, a lot of our business is actually primarily cod fish, ground fish, so yellowtail flounder, blackback flounder, pond, haddock. That was what the business was built on. And that all changed in probably the mid-90s, where brownfish was kind of depleted, and we had to refocus on things like, talking about stuff, summer flounder, squid, and sea bass. In the 80s, they didn't know what to do with squid, and they tried to take a dime for it, try to get rid of it somewhere. So, yeah, we've seen that shift, and those species like cod, they're still in trouble as far as the rebounding stock and migrating north. There are a lot of these species have migrated north into our waters. So squid is pretty resilient. Squid, they only live a year. They're pretty well regulated by the government, and they're not like the codfish that live 5 to 10 years. The reproduction level is much slower. Squid have a high reproduction of different cohorts or different kind of hatching areas, and that's going on multiple times a year. So that resiliency on squid is encouraging for the long term. But we're always, we keep an eye on the biology, and I have someone full-time following that, because we have to make strategic investments to kind of match the species, and it's not like a farm where you can go and see how much you have and count your livestock. There's just a lot of unknowns in dealing with fisheries, and where they're going to school up, water temperature, every year is different. I've been in the industry for so long, and if you ask me what we were going to land, the quotas are set, but what percentage of that quota we're going to land the following year for squid, there's so many factors, it's very hard to predict.
Don't know if there is a benefit to ocean moving for your industry when you have to adapt with the changing water temperatures. Would you say since there's a benefit then that would deter some industries from wanting to make changes to stop the accelerating change in water temperatures because there's a benefit?
The benefit is just like so there could be a benefit one year and there could be practice conditions. So I completely unknown. I'm just saying what we're seeing as a fishing industry and fishermen is that some of these species that we used to catch, say up in Maryland, and they're up here in our waters. So is that a benefit short term? Possibly. If water keeps warming and they're off of Maine, and we can access them, but there's so many, things are changing at such a fast rate, there's so many unknowns. That's the bottom line. And we're just trying to react to that, and there's nothing that we can really do about it. We're trying to react on the management side, too. How do we manage these fisheries differently? So, for example, summer flounder state quota in North Carolina, but the fish are up here. So my boats have permits to catch that. We'll catch it up here with the steam all the way down to North Carolina to unload, and then steam all the way back. It's completely inefficient. However, those docks in North Carolina and those shoreside facilities depend on that. Getting them to change that, say, let's just move that quota from that state up to Rhode Island. We'll give Rhode Island quota. Makes sense on one side, unless you live in North Carolina and you're a dock side and you're fighting with teeth with quota. So there's some things going on that make sense, and some things that are going on because of different parameters. And navigating that through the regulatory process is a challenge, trying to keep all the stakeholders whole, happy, and also trying to navigate through climate change. It's amazing.
Ryan and I were talking about this just this morning before we walked in. I think there's also a very significant safety and sea issue to this. Ryan had just said, and this is absolutely true, if you have boats that are permitted in North Carolina, for example, incentivized by a very large production in this tournament, but yet they're fishing a couple hundred miles to the north just off of Rhode Island, and have to go back there, not only is less efficiency and fossilized, but, that boat has to turn around and all of a sudden the hurricane come up the East Coast. Those are issues that they have to deal with. And this is why I talk about the lag in management, because, management is a very, very slow process. And it doesn't necessarily keep up with the rapidly changing environment that we're doing. So, we may have a lot of fish up here, but that doesn't mean it's not.
If I own a dock in North Carolina or Virginia, it's true, so it's just trying to navigate that with all the stakeholders. Because we have partner docks down the coast, and everybody has their own unique challenges. So a lot of that is beyond us as a business. It's more of a government regulation from the state side or regional side or national commission.
You all have any questions?
Any more questions? Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your spending time with us this morning. Feel free to stay and network. There's pastries and coffee back there. Please enjoy. Next Thursday, this is a topic for you, Blue Careers for Adventure Seekers. So expect to see a lot of students, especially down in summer study. Right?
Yes.
Adventure seekers.
Yeah, the Adventure Seekers is true. So again, thank you all for coming. If you have any questions on the report, feel free to ask me or come up and talk to each other. And again, gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I like that shirt. I know they reserved it. Brian.
No, thank you. This is, I'm Kathleen Jackson. Pick it up where she leaves off.